Ahí está grabando, ¿sí? Okay, chicas, tell me if we are recording. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. So we are going to start. Good morning to all of you babies, and I know that you are okay, so we are going to continue with our unit. We're going to finish the unit 5C, and we're going to start with the 5D. That's the one that we have to continue. Okay, first we're going to check the homework, which is on page 62, unit 5C. Remember that I told you number 5 is the homework. So please go back to number 5 in unit 5C. That says answer the questions with information from the article. And these are very important questions, right? Because it's about the article, which is, I think it's really important, especially for the, you know, the problems we're having today in terms of the, you see, pollution that we have in the ocean, or not only in the ocean, in different places, right? So we are going to answer number 1 that says, why are cruises bad for the environment? Why are cruises, we're talking about the ships, of course, why are cruises bad for the environment? Okay, so maybe we can give the answer here, right? The first one. Well, why are cruises bad? Do you remember when we started reading in the article that you see the guy says that these ships, you know, dump a lot of waste into the oceans every year? Do you remember that? That's yes. The worst thing they can do. The worst, but this is incredible, right? That what they do, what these ships, you know, do, they dump, you see, a lot of tons of waste into the ocean. So what is the answer, Tiare, for this question?
I put they dump tons of what waste into the ocean.
Yeah, that's correct. This is the correct answer, right? So that they dump, you see, waste or tons of waste, you know, into the ocean every year, right? Every year, because remember they have an itinerary, and this itinerary is repeated every year. Okay, good. Number 2, what is number 2? It says expeditions normally climb Everest to reach the top. Yeah. What the question is, what other expeditions does the article mention? What other expeditions? Because this is very normal.
They also climb the Himalayas.
Yeah. And what for? Sometimes. I mean, because these are the typical expeditions that they climb the Himalaya, you say, the Everest, to reach the top. But are there other expeditions that the article mentions?
Tourism.
Yeah. Okay. For example, and apart from tourism, are there other expeditions that they go with another purpose, with another objective? Not only to climb, to enjoy this activity, to climb the mountains, you see?
They also organize expeditions to clean this place.
Yes, that's the answer, right? You know, when it says what other expeditions does the article mention, is that they organize expeditions to clean the mountain. Remember that they find a lot of, you know, waste and trash in the mountain. So this is very important too. They not only go to climb the mountains, but also to clean the mountain. Okay, good. Number 3, it says, why, aside from the coast, it says, are low cost flights so popular? Why, aside from the cost, are low cost flights so popular? Apart from the cost, I mean, that is, they are very cheap. Apart from that,
because it allows them to go to many places, or like to take short vacations.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea, because you can take, you know, short vacations. And remember that sometimes they go twice a year or 3 times a year, right? Because of the you know, I mean, the prices, because of the cost. That's the answer, right? That you can take several short vacations. Great. In number 4, this is the last question that says, does the article suggest better ways to travel, and how?
the article suggests that you can travel by train, for example, and it's a greener option to
Yeah.
get around. And also, many places have been experimenting low impact tourism, such as ecotourism.
Yeah, exactly. These are the two ones. Did you think the same, Tiara? Do you agree with Kimberly?
Yes, I agree with her.
Yeah, that's because these are the, you see, the other ways to travel, right? I mean, these are what the article suggests. Better ways, right? By train and, you know, ecotourism. Correct. Okay, then so we continue with the number 9 that is pending because the other exercises we did. There is another one that says here in number 9, look at these activities and decide their position on the green scale. Position that in terms of if you are, I mean, how green you are. If you are, let's say, maybe very green, or if you are not so green. That's it, yeah. Are you very green or you are not so green, right? Very green is those people who, you know, I mean, worry about the environment. And not so green are those people who don't care about the environment, right? Okay, for example, here we have lots of things that are very important. One question for you. It says buying out of season food flown in from distant destinations. Yeah, are these activities, how can you consider this kind of activity in a green scale, being very green or not so, not you know, I mean, so green? Yeah, the first one, what do you think about this? Remember, buying out of season food, buying out of season food. This is, for example, we are in winter and we can buy, for example, let's see, something that is very popular in summer, but you can find it in winter anyway, because these food can be from other, you see, countries. So they buy this kind of food, and you see the country where you buy it send the food, you see, by plane. So this come from other destinations. So how do you consider this? Buying out of season food flown in from distant destinations. Very
I
green or
think this
not?
is not so green.
Yeah,
Not so green because it is flown to the country by plane, and we know that planes contaminate and pollute the air and all of that.
yeah, exactly. So I agree with her. I think it's not so green. And Tiare, what do you think? Do you think this is not so green too?
Yes.
Yeah, but no, you're not very sure, I guess.
No,
Why not?
because I didn't understand very well the situation.
Okay, I'm going to explain again, right? The idea is, Tiare, for example, buying out of season food. Do you know out of season? For example, out of season is, let's see, for example, tomatoes are really good and really delicious in summertime because tomatoes belong to that season, summer, right? We always have good tomatoes in summer. For example, here we have from Limache. Limache have big plantations, you see, about this kind of vegetable. But when you find, for example, tomatoes in wintertime, they are very bad because these tomatoes are out of season, you see? So they don't belong to summer season. Do you understand the idea? So they have to buy them in another place, not, for example, in Limache. Do you understand the idea?
Yes.
Out of season. There are lots of, I mean, a lot of fruits also that you can buy in summer, right? For example, what kind of fruit do you buy in summer?
Watermelon.
Yeah, okay, watermelon. All right. This is from summer season, right? Now we are in winter. Can you find watermelon in winter?
No.
Yeah, but if you find it, in case you find it, these are out of season, right? If you find in winter,
Okay.
it means that they are out of season. Maybe you see the owners of the supermarket bought this watermelon from another country. So they have to send, you know, that fruit by plane or by ship in special ships. And it take a lot of time when they travel by ship. But they are in special, you know, I mean, areas in the ship. But this is not green. Why? Because ships also contaminate the ocean. And if they you know, I mean, if they decide to bring this to Chile by plane, that, as you know, Kimberly said, this is also bad. It's not green because the planes also contaminate. They contaminate, you know, all the, you know, maybe the environment, the air, etc. Right? That's the idea, Tiare, that
Okay.
buying out of season, flown in, o sea, que lo traen en vuelo, flown in from distant destinations, de otros lugares, de distantes, right? Maybe from, I don't know, maybe from other, it could be, for example, from Ecuador, for example, bananas, right? Or other things, right? That's the idea. Okay, flying to vacation destinations. Yeah. Tiare, what do you think? This is very green or not so green? What do you think? How green are you? Or how do you put in a scale this activity? Flying to vacation destinations.
Maybe not so green because some people don't take care for the environment of other countries.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, good. And also they have to fly because it's flying. So you take a plane, and we know that planes contaminate a lot, right? Okay, and also, as you say, because tourists sometimes are very, you say, irresponsible because they just, you know, leave, for example, the bottles, the plastic bottles in the, for example, in the streets or on the beach, you see, and they don't put it in the correct, for example, container, right? So this is something that they do. You're right. Recycling household waste. Kimberly, is it green or not so green?
Yes, this is very green because it allows to use the waste for other things.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we use the for example, the waste sometimes for other things like compost, for example. Okay, and Tere, saving water. Saving water. You can save water by different ways. Do you think this is green or not so green?
Green.
Green. And why is it green? What are you doing? How can you save water, for example? How can you save water?
When it is raining, you can put a bowl
All right.
and save water.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe when you have a swimming pool,
Yeah.
you can use that. You can use that water regando las plantas.
Watering the plants. In watering the plants. To water.
Watering the plant.
Yeah. Remember, to water is that what you want to, what you are asking me. So I water my plants, for example, every, let's say, twice a week. Twice a week. I water my plants twice a week. That's the verb, water, to water. And what other things can you do in the house, for example, apart from that you use that water, for example, to water if in case you have plants? That's good. That's a good idea. What else? If it's rain, you can keep some water and then use it for also for watering plants. And what other things in the house you can do to save, for example, water? Okay. What other things, for example, Tiare, in the house? What about when you take a shower, for example, Tiare?
Yes, for example, my grandmother do dishes.
Does the dishes?
Yes.
Yeah.
When my grandmother does the dishes, she put a bowl with water and
yeah, good.
Soap with the lavalosas.
Yeah, okay.
So she do dishes and don't use water.
Yeah, so
hasta el final.
Yeah.
Ya ella los lava.
No, come on, speak in English only. You're doing quite well. Yeah, remember the S. Okay, go again. My grandmother puts water in a bowl, right? And then she adds a little bit of some, let's say, maybe
soap.
Yeah, okay, it could be, or let's say washing detergent, for example, it could be, or something like that, to wash the dishes. And yeah, and you know, in this way she is saving water because the tap water is not running, right? So that's something good. Okay. What else? What about the shower? Do you take long showers or short showers?
I take short showers.
Yeah, no, this is a way to save water, Tiare. So that's a very good thing. People should take short showers in this way instead of, for example, staying for 10 minutes taking a shower. You can reduce, those minutes. Maybe you can take 5 minutes instead of 10. So in that way, you are saving water. You see? And also,
Yes.
in case that, for example, if you see that let's say the water or the tap water is running and is out of order, well, call someone. You see, maybe a technician or someone that can help you to repair the tap water, because that's another way you can save water. Okay. Yeah. Turning off lights and appliances. Yeah. Is this a way also to save and being greener, or I mean to be, yeah, maybe you can be let's say very green when you, for instance, take off lights and appliances. Take off lights, take off. Okay.
Yes, it's greener.
Yeah, so that's, you are very green when you take off lights and appliances. All right, this is also very good. Sometimes we forget when you are, for example, ironing, you forget that you have the iron, you see, on. So, wow, remember immediately. So you have to turn it off immediately, because the iron, you see, I think is you see, is a device that maybe the bill goes up, because oof, you cannot imagine the amount of light that you use when you iron. Okay, traveling by bike, by car, by public transportation. Yeah, what is this? Very green or not so green? Kimberly or Tiare, any of you? Traveling by bike, by car, or
Yeah,
by public
this
transport?
is this is very green because you're contaminated if you travel by other ways. So if you choose to ride a bike or maybe public transportation, you're avoiding using a lot of cars to get
Yes,
there, right?
yes, exactly. And Tiare, upgrading cell phones. Do you know the meaning of upgrading? Upgrading, not upgrading, upgrading.
No, miss.
Upgrading means when you buy a new model. That's upgrading. For example, if you decide to upgrade your cell phone, it means that you are buying in this moment a new model. That's upgrading. Do you do this? Do you upgrade cell phones or computers? Do you buy a new model? For example, tomorrow they are going to launch a new cell phone. You see, the most modern one. That's upgrading. Do you buy it or not?
No,
No.
I really don't care.
Yeah,
The new
okay.
thing.
So if you do this, if you don't buy it, right? Maybe you're being very green, right? Okay.
Mm,
And do you upgrade, for example, when there is a new, or they launch a new brand in computers, do you buy that computer, the new one?
no,
No. Okay. So it means that this is not very green, right? Good.
okay.
Using eco-friendly or cleaning products. Eco-friendly, do you know the meaning of eco-friendly, Tiare? Eco-friendly.
Mm, I forget it.
Yeah, but the idea is when you do, doing the least amount of harm, you see, to the environment. That's eco-friendly. Doing the
It
least,
is
um,
green.
yeah, it's green, okay, using eco-friendly cleaning products, right? Good, because the other ones damage the ocean, the environment, etc. Okay. Uh, Kimberly, how easy is it for you to switch to greener activities? How easy? Number 10. How easy is it for you to switch to greener activities?
I think sometimes it can be a little bit hard, but because I don't know, to have like a total green life, you would have to be probably vegan. You would need to stop eating animals, and maybe. But I try to make my life a little bit greener by maybe I avoid using makeup that is tested on animals, or maybe by saving water and stuff like that.
Yes. Okay. And in the case of you, Tiare, how is it? Is it for you to switch to greener activities, or is it difficult for you to switch to greener activities?
I think that it is difficult for me because I know that I have to take care of the environment,
Mm-hmm.
but I sometimes do things that are bad.
Yeah, are bad for the environment. Okay. For example, what
Yes.
do you do that is bad? What do you do?
For example, when I take a shower, I
Uh,
don't care for the water or something like
yeah.
this.
So you have to be conscious, my dear. You have to be conscious.
Yes.
This is not good, especially now that we don't have enough water. You see, fortunately now, we have had some rain, but this is not enough. It's not enough, right? We need more water, more water. So I understand you, Terry, because sometimes, especially women and we that we have long hair, so we have, sometimes we need more time to take a shower. But I am very conscious. I try to spend less time now because of the water. Okay, let's see. So we are going to say here, well, compare your green activities in the results, and is your group light green or dark green? I think that if I compare the things that you have mentioned, I think that you are more than, maybe your group is more like light green instead of dark green, right? Because you maybe um, you do some things and you consider that some things are, you see, very green and others are not much, so green, right? So I think that you are more like light green, although it is not easy in some cases for you, to change or to switch, to greener activities. But in some cases, you're very conscious, so I think it's okay. It's difficult, especially when, Kimberly says also that you are not vegan, for example, a vegan person, and Tiare, you like or you have been used to having long showers, so it's kind of difficult. But in these kind of activities, in other things, maybe it's different, right? Um, and there are some people that, what they do is, in order to be at least light green, they, use different bags, even though it doesn't matter if it is a big bag or small bag, but they use bag in order to put the trash in different, bags. For example, I always, here in the house, I have one special, you see, it's a bin, trash bin. It's something small. Bin is a small. It's not like a container. Trash containers are bigger, but bins are smaller. I have two bins. One especially, for the plastic material, because I think that's very bad. This is very dangerous to the environment. And the other one is for the things that, we use every day. For example, in the kitchen when we cook, right? I put in another container. This is another bin. Okay, so I try to do something in order to care about the environment. Okay, so I think these are the last part of maybe of the you see activities here. So we can say something like summarize this unit. I think that when people are very green, you see, we can say that they always worry about recycling. That's very important, especially recycling household waste. That's something very important. People also save water. They turn off lights, you see, and electrical appliances. People prefer to travel by, for example, by bike instead of using their cars, and also they use eco-friendly, cleaning products. Those are the ones that we can consider like people that are very green. On the other hand, we have those people that are not so green, and we can say that, summarizing, that they prefer to travel, for example, by car. They prefer sometimes buying out of season food. They also prefer, you see, flying to vacation destinations. They prefer upgrading, their cell phones, their computers, their TVs very frequently, right? So these are not so green, right? So maybe, I don't know if you consider a very green person or not so green person. How do you consider yourself? Very green person or not so green person? Tiare, how do you consider yourself? Very green person or not so green?
Green.
Yeah, okay, a very green person. Good. So you are the ones that take care of the environment in different ways. Yeah,
Intermed.
yeah. So
I
maybe
am a consi-
you consider yourself, very green person because you recycle things, you save water, you turn off the lights and the electrical appliances when it's necessary, you travel some, or you use a bike when it's possible, or you try not to use, for example, maybe a lot of transportation, you prefer to walk instead of taking a bus, etc. Yeah, Kimberly, how do you consider yourself? A very green person or not so green person?
I think I'm in the in between, maybe.
Yeah,
Because although I'm not so green, I'm still trying to become more aware of the environment every day.
yeah, me too. I think that I am also in between, but I am very strict, especially in my apartment with the lights. Every time that I see that a light is on, and nobody is in, I usually turn it off. Right. So I think this is the way that I can start saving at least, something in favor to the environment. Right. Okay, but not only this. I remember I'm very careful with the trash, right? All right, and I hate when people throw trash, for example, into the streets. That's something that I can't stand. I sometimes I have sometimes asked somebody, hey, come on, please, you cannot do that. But you have to be careful because some people are very, irrespectful sometimes. Okay, baby, so we say goodbye to this part. Remember that here we have lots of things, the real cost of travel. We talk about the advantages and the disadvantages of, tourism here, remember? And we also, talk about how, the tourism affect, you see, or the effects that it has, in, let's say, um, in different places, right? In the things that are bad and are good for this. And we also talk about how much green someone is, or if you are not very green, or if you are in between, etc., etc., etc. And then, well, finally, I think these are the most important things, and we have to be careful with the reading because we can ask you some things about this, the real cost of travel. What happens, with for example, you can tell us about when you have, for example, maybe a cruise ship, what are the advantages of traveling by this means of transportation, and how these, cruises affect, you see, the environment. And then when we talk about, for example, trash on the top of the world is when we're talking about, the expeditions that people usually have, like to the Himalayas, for example, or other places, right? And that, believe it or not, but there are people that are contaminating those beautiful natural places in the world. And also, for example, we have some problems, that they are affecting the wildlife. That's also that we talk, especially these beautiful, animals that we have in Magallanes, for example, the Magellanic penguins that are little by little, maybe declining. This is something very bad. This is all the things that we talked. And also we talked about the construction. Construction plays an important role in terms of destroying, the environment, right? So, do you agree? This is like the big summary of the unit, the things that we have talked here in this unit 5C, which I consider very important. Then when we finish this, and at the end of the semester, we are going to prepare some important topics for practicing our speaking. Now we are going to go to 5D. 5D, go to 5D, please. The name is something wrong? Okay, here you see, sorry, we're going to talk about the typical, travel problems. A question first to Tiare. Tiare, have you ever flown, Tiare, in your life? In
No,
this country
miss.
or outside the country? Never. Okay.
I haven't.
No, but only by bus, right? Or not?
Yes.
Yeah, and by car, of course. All right. But anyway, this is important because it's you can also participate because you at least have an idea about what people say, what people claim sometimes when they talk about travel problems, right? Okay, so here we're going to start. You see, talking about the typical, you see, travel problems that people can have. Well, as you know, people can travel by different means of transportation, not only by plane, right? Okay, what are the most typical means that people use to travel? What are the typical means of transport that people use, to travel? The first one, which is the most typical, the most popular that people use in Chile?
Plane
Yeah, okay.
and bus.
Yeah, planes and buses. Planes and buses. We're talking about general, in a general way. Okay, planes and buses. All right, yeah, planes and buses. Yeah, sometimes also by car, by car, but planes and buses are the most, popular ones among people. Good. Uh, the question for you is that if you have ever had any travel problems when you, for example, go on vacation or when you travel with your family or friends. Have you ever had any problem when you travel by car or by bus or by plane, for example? Have you had any problem?
No.
No? So you're lucky. You're lucky. Okay. You're lucky, Tiare. Okay, good. And Kimberly, have you ever had any problem when traveling?
Yes, with my luggage.
Yeah, you see, with my luggage. Me too. Tiare, I also had a problem like 4 years ago, I remember. 4 years ago, I had a problem with my luggage. I couldn't find my luggage, when I arrived, you see, at the destination country, and I was to the baggage claim, I couldn't find my luggage. So I had to go to a special office, to say what my problem was. And then at the end, after 2 or 3 weeks, they called me, and I had to write a letter. Well, you have to do lots of things, right, in order to receive. For example, if you don't receive your suitcase or your bag, what you can receive is an amount of money according to the things that you had in your bags, right? Okay, it's very disgusting anyway. It's not easy. It's not easy, to have your luggage back with you. It's very difficult. Okay, but this is one of the problems. Have you ever, Kimberly, traveled to a far away place by car?
No, I have never traveled by. Oh, wait. I think I have, but just like maybe like a 3 hour car ride, and that's it.
Yeah, okay. And you, Tiare, have you ever traveled by car? I mean, long hours, for example?
Yes.
Yeah. From where to where? From Viña to? From
From Viña to the south of Chile.
to where? To the pole?
South,
To the
sur,
south. To the south of Chile. Okay. What
south.
city? What city?
Um, Puerto Montt, Puerto
Yeah, okay,
Varas.
Puerto. Yeah, it's very long. Yeah, good.
Yes.
So me too. I have had, I mean, let's say, long, you see, trips, very long trips. I like driving when I am on vacation. So I've had long trips, like, for example, to, from Viña to Osorno, that I left Viña in the morning at 8:30, and I arrived in Osorno at 10 at night. So all day long traveling. Of course, for example, let's say I always stop, in some places to have, for example, a cup of coffee or something to eat or to go to the ladies' room, etc. Right? Or maybe in petrol stations that are very modern today, that they have restaurants or places where you can eat something. Yeah. So, everything had gone well, except that once, I think the only problem that I have had is that I remember once that we were traveling by car and we were going to Argentina, right? We were at the customs here near Santiago, at the customs, and when we realized that the one of the members of my family that was supposed to help me with driving noticed that he didn't have the driver's license. Wow, I said, oh my God. So I said, and he said, well, why don't we return home to look for my license? I says, come on, forget it. We are here in Argentina. No, 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 no. I said, let's go on, and I can drive if, well, you have to, let's say, give me time to rest well in order to be very attentive when driving. And in that opportunity, I drove, can you imagine, 9,000 kilometers. 9,000 kilómetros manejé, 9,000 kilometers, because nobody else could drive. It was terrible. It was tiring, but I had a good time anyway. I had a good time. Yeah, it was terrible. I was like, come on. Well, but that's the problem that we had. The only problem that I have had. And sometimes, some punctures, punctures, that word? Yeah, punctures. I had a puncture once, but only once. A puncture.
No.
I have
What is that?
my tire. Un pinchazo en el neumático. I had a puncture.
Oh.
Puncture.
Qué
But
atroz.
yeah, no, it's not so terrible. Sometimes people help you. Lots of people help you to change a tire, right? So that's what I did, and then we continued, right? But it's not so terrible. Okay, so here we have, you see, in vocabulary number 1, we have some travel problems. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to share. Voy a compartir. Wait a minute, I did something to share in order to explain the vocabulary very well. Right, let me see. I'm going to look for my control E. Yeah, unit 5 here. Yeah, unit this life 4. The book is life 4, right? The unit is 5D is something wrong. That's the name of the unit. Something, and then here missing. Put it. Okay, so part 1, it says vocabulary revision, travel problems. Are you looking at it? ¿Lo pueden ver?
See.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so I put it because I did it last night because I think it's important, because you don't have the vocabulary here. And there are some important things connected with or related to travel problems, right? For example, the problem that sometimes we have is baggage allowances. Baggage allowances, right? Well, what do you mean by this with baggage allowances? This is, baggage allowances, you means, here another mistake. This is 9. You mean. What do you mean? You mean how much luggage in number, size, and weight you are, to take on a plane. That's the meaning of baggage allowances, right? So when you arrive, for example, at the airport, the case of Tiare that you have never, flown by plane, every time you arrive at the airport, you go to the desk, right, of the airline, company, and then you are, you wait for your turn, and then when you arrive there, you see an officer asks you to show your passport, and also they ask you about your luggage, and they weigh your luggage. They weigh your luggage, right? And this is the baggage allowance, because there is a kind of, let's say, they allow you, right, to take a certain, you see, certain number of kilos. Okay, so if you, for example, you're allowed to maybe to have 25 kilos. If you have more than 25 kilos in your luggage, right? When they weigh, ellos lo pesan, they weigh. Well, you have to pay a fine. Tienes que pagar una multa. That is very expensive. Or you have to try to take some things out of your luggage. You have two things. One, you pay more, right? That is a kind of a fine for taking more than 25 kilos. So this is the baggage allowance, right? Baggage allowance when you're right. You are okay with the number of kilos that you have in your luggage. If you have more kilos, well, you have to pay, I don't remember, but it's a lot of money that you have to pay, right? This is what we call baggage allowances, right? Or baggage allowance. I put it in plural, baggage allowances, all right? Do you understand, Tiare?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And also you can take, for example, let's say a hand luggage that this is you're allowed to take this. You put it in a compartment, you know, when you are on the plane, right? Boarding passes, you know what a boarding pass is. This is a boarding pass, it's a card. It's a card, right? That a passenger must have to be allowed to enter a plane or a ship. That's the boarding pass. Every passenger has this boarding pass. Otherwise, you cannot enter, you know, the plane. So this is very important, your boarding pass. You have to take it with you in your hands. Car rental, well, what is this? This is a place, you know, where companies offer cars to rent. Most of the time, these offices are in the airport. So when people travel, for example, to other countries and they need a car to move from one place to another, so they go to the car rental, see, in the same airport, and they rent immediately a car, right? So this is the car rental. Customs, well, this is a very important office. Customs is a place, you can find it at the airport and also at a port, you know, or border. You see, where travelers' bags are looked at to find out if any goods are being carried illegally. That's the customs. They are very demanding, very strict with the things, right? Okay, customs. Now they are very modern. They have special machines. So what you do is you put your bags or your handbag, only your handbag and your purse if you have it, or your backpack, right? And all the things you take with you. And sometimes you have to put even your pair of shoes, you see, on that machine that have some X-rays and they see what you have in your purse, right? So if you have something that is illegal, forget it because you cannot fly. Maybe sometimes they're very also strict. Okay, that's the customs. That is called in Spanish la aduana, right? We have to go to that place. Flight delays, well, this is another problem that people have. This is very common sometimes. Flight delays. Flight delays mean when flights arrive at a later time than expected. That's sometimes very common, you know, when for example, the demand is very high, especially in summertime, you know, we have flight delays. So instead of arriving at a specific time, you always arrive late. I mean, the flights arrive late. Food poisoning, that's another problem that people have, right? That means an illness usually caused by eating food that contains harmful bacteria. That's food poisoning. And then we have, well, hotel rooms is very easy. These are the rooms you pay in a hotel to sleep in. Infectious disease, you can imagine what it is. It's a disease caused by an infection or failure of health rather than by an accident. This is Tiare, since you have not traveled by plane, this is a problem that people have, especially when you have a long trip and when you travel by plane, right? It is the feeling of tiredness and confusion which people experience, especially, you know, the passengers experience after making a long journey in an aircraft or plane, right? To a place where the time is different from the place they left. For example, when you travel from Santiago to sometimes to the United States, to a very far away city, and sometimes people start getting confused because they don't know what time it is in that place. So they have sometimes, you know, I mean, a get lag, or they are so tired, you see, they sometimes you cannot even walk very well, and this is what they call jet lag, right? That's very typical. Examples of, I put an example here of the word jet lag in context for you to understand better. Every time I fly to the States, this is a word that people use instead of saying to the United States, but it's very common to say that, right? I get really bad jet lag. Yeah, because I feel, like confused. I am always asking about what the time is. My sometimes my legs hurt, but this is just for some hours, and after some hours, you start feeling okay. In another example here, I use it, as a noun that Itiare, that you like grammar. I get really, what did you get? Bad jet lag. In the second one, I put another one, right? I just got back from Hong Kong, so I am feeling totally jet lagged. How are you feeling? Totally jet lagged. So this is used as an adjective. And then here, this one, her flight, for example, from Melbourne, arrived early in the morning, and she suffered from severe jet lag all day. Yeah, because this is a very long journey, right? From Santiago, for example, to Melbourne. It's very long. I think more than 12 hours. Okay. What is motion sickness? This is another, problem that people can have. This is motion sickness, that is also known as travel sickness, right? This is a feeling of illness, especially of needing to vomit, which some people get in a moving vehicle. Well, it can happen some people have this problem when they travel by plane, and also when you travel by car, right? Which is called motion sickness. My sister has that problem when she travels by bus, for example, from here to let's say to the south of Chile. She always has motion sickness, so she has to take some pills to avoid this motion sickness. This is terrible because she all the time she asks us to stop the car because she needs to go to the bathroom, because she has from motion sickness. Passport control, well, this is a place where you find people that are examining the traveler's passports. That's passport control. Travel documents, well, they are the important official papers that when you travel, baby. The passport, you need to have the passport, the visa or ID card that you need in order to be allowed to travel from one country to another. Okay, for example, for both of you, Tiare and Kimberly, can you tell me, for example, if you travel from here to, let's say, to any other, country, in what countries you don't need a passport? In what other country, or a visa? Only your ID card. Do you know where?
If we
Uh,
travel to within South America, we would probably need just the ID card.
Yeah, just the ID card. For example, if you go from here to Argentina, you don't need a passport, right? You don't need a passport nor visa. You just need your ID card because there is a special agreement between Argentina and Chile, right? That's what. In Europe, is there another country where you don't need the visa? Maybe your passport, you can take it just for in case that you have a bad maybe experience and someone had, stolen your ID card, but you have with you your passport. In that case, it's good to travel with the passport. But the visa is not necessary. Do you know where? Where can you travel without having it's not necessary to have the visa.
I think
I
all over
don't know.
Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I think all over Europe, you are just allowed to just visit with without a visa, just a passport.
Just the passport. Okay. But in the US, but that's not in Europe. Yeah, with the passport only. For example, when I traveled to um, what is this country? Spain. I didn't need to take or to have a visa because with my ID card was necessary, and I also had my passport, but not the visa. But if you travel to the United States, wow, they are very strict. They very strict. You need to have the visa, otherwise you cannot enter. Right? You cannot enter the country. Well, the same as if you travel to Canada. When I have traveled to Canada, I also need to, to ask for the visa in the, you see here in Santiago, in the Canadian, embassy, or in the U.S. embassy, right? Okay, so these are some of the things that I put here. Yeah. Okay, so now you have an idea. I'm going to upload this for you. Se los voy a mandar esto arriba al Google Classroom, baby, esto, para que lo tengan. ¿Ya? Don't copy,
Okay.
copiando, don't copy. I'm going to upload this. All right, so according to these problems, travel problems, what do you think are the most typical problems that people have when they travel? They have problems, for example, with baggage allowances, boarding passes, car rentals, and so on and so on and so on. What are the problems that you have heard, que te han escuchado, or you have had?
Customs, baggage allowances.
Yeah, okay, and baggage allowances, right. I think these are the two, you see, the two problems that most passengers have when travel by plane, right. They always have problems, you see, with the baggage allowances and sometimes with the customs. Sometimes, but I think you have to be very careful. Avoid having problems with the customs, but sometimes people always have problems, right? Yeah, and also when you travel by ship, because when you travel by ship, you have to also, there are people that belong to the customs and they always find, that people take things that are not allowed to enter, for example, in Chile, right? So that's they have problems. And also, what is the other typical problems that we have also?
Flight delays.
Yeah, exactly. Flight delays, that's very common. Flight delays. In Kimberly, that you have had experience traveling by plane, have you ever had problems, for example, with the let's say food poisoning when you have traveled by plane, or have you had problems with jet lag, or with the what is the other one, that's motion sickness?
I remember when I was a kid, I had some issue with food poisoning. I remember I vomit
Yeah,
in the airplane.
yeah. Okay, because sometimes this happens, right? When you are traveling by plane, maybe you don't know if the food is fresh or not. So you can have serious problems and you can feel very bad. So you can have like a motion sickness, right? When you have or food, maybe poisonous, right? Also, you can suffer from or infectious diseases, not, but food poisoning, yes. Now, babies, I want to put it in context now. What about that? We know that these are the typical problems that people have. Sometimes, that, believe it or not, that some people, when they arrive at the airport, they realize that they don't have their passport, you see, or travel, or the plane tickets with them. This is sometimes it has happened. So they have to ask for help immediately because they need to travel, right? Fortunately, what happens with today? What is in favor of us today? In case that you have this problem, for example, that, oh, I forgot the plane ticket. Is it a problem today?
I
No,
think no,
Oh, why not?
because you can find it in internet or your email.
Yeah, exactly. Because now you can find it. So you see, for example, you can have even in your cell phone, you have everything there, so you can look at. Sometimes you have it in your email, right? So thanks to the technology today, we can solve the situations, in case of you have left this kind of document in the house. In the past, it was terrible. Imagine, in the past, you couldn't travel if you didn't have your ticket with you. But now, thanks to the technology, we have the cell phones, and you don't need to take, to photocopy the plane ticket, because if you have it in the cell phone, you just show it, lo muestras, you show it, and with that is enough. All right, and now tell me, what do you think, baby? Do you think that it is dangerous to travel by plane today with this pandemic, or not? What do you think? Do you think it is dangerous, or do you think it's not dangerous? Because remember that the coronavirus is an infectious disease. So, because it's a virus, right? So, do you think that this is this a problem today or not, to travel by plane?
I
Would you?
think that it is a problem.
It is a problem. Okay. Would you, Kimberly? Would you or Tiare? Would you Tiare? Would you travel by plane nowadays with this pandemic? Would you or you wouldn't?
If
Would
it
I
was
wouldn't.
possible, I think I would.
yeah. And you, Tiare, would you or not? Would you do it or you wouldn't travel by plane now with this pandemic?
Mm, I think no.
Yeah. Okay.
I wouldn't.
So you wouldn't travel. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I am not sure. If I am pretty sure that the plane has been, for example, cleaned very well, using special, let's say, liquids, etc., or any special liquid to clean or to kill, the viruses, maybe I would say okay. Otherwise, I wouldn't, because I think that this is a place, this is the perfect place, to be infected, because you are so close to the other passenger, right? That maybe if the passenger coughs, for example, maybe I am going to be infected. I think so. But if I know that, or if all the passengers go with a mask or with other, safety, let's say, conditions, in that case, I would think about it, and maybe I would do it in case of an emergency, right? Okay, now, so this is the first part. So we have travel problems. So if you summarize, resumimos, we summarize this, and we can say that, Kimberly, can you tell me, summarizing this point number one, the typical problems that people have when they travel, especially by plane? What are the possible problems you can have when you travel by plane? Kimberly or Pierre?
What was the question?
Summarize, to go to the other point, summarize point number one, saying the most typical travel problems that passengers have, especially when they travel by plane.
I think it's really common to find flight delays and also baggage or
Allowance,
luggage. Yeah, luggage
allowances.
issues.
Yeah,
Or allowances. Yeah, and also people can have jet lag or can feel jet lag because
yeah,
of the different time zones.
yeah. All right. And also motion sickness. Remember that there are people who can have this problem too, motion sickness. All right. Now, the next point is something about grammar theory. It says compound nouns. It says noun plus noun. So we did two nouns together, but try to put it in context in terms of the vocabulary we are reviewing, travel problems, or in terms of when people travel by plane, or when you are at the airport. Can you mention at least 4 nouns that are related to this, place? For example, airport or traveling, etc. We have two only here. Two nouns together to mean one thing. For example, baggage allowances or boarding passes. Two nouns, pass and boarding. Allowance and baggage, they are nouns. Both two nouns together, they provide a new meaning. Can you think of other words? I would be very happy if you tell me at least two each, to Kimberly, to Tiare. Compound
I will
nouns.
think.
Yeah, two compound nouns.
Passport control.
Yeah,
Or
okay. Passport.
travel documents.
All right. Okay. Tiare, can you think of some examples of compound nouns related to this vocabulary? Traveling or at the airport? No?
It is difficult for me.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah. maybe now if you see some examples here, I wrote some examples last night for you about compound nouns. For example, I have one here, overhead and locker. Overhead locker. This is a place that all the planes, get it, I mean that you have never traveled by plane. All the planes have, in the upper part, they have the overhead locker. So you sit, tú te sientas, you sit, you see, on the corresponding seat, of course, on the plane. And before sitting, of course, you have to put, imagine if you take with you, let's say a backpack full of things, you have to take it out and then you put it on this, overhead locker. That is a kind of compartment that all the passengers put their things there. If you take your computer, sometimes people put the computer in that overhead locker or overhead compartment. Okay, this is the word. So we have, locker is a noun, overhead is a noun. So we have two words that means that, overhead locker or overhead compartment. Now another one, you see, flight is a noun, flight, un vuelo, noun. Attendant is another noun. So we have these two words together, a flight attendant. This is, the person that works, on the plane while people travel, you see. So they usually take care of passengers when we travel. They offer, you see, for example, it depends on the journey. If you have a long journey, for example, well, they usually offer you at least lunch, right? Or if it is very late, sometimes dinner. So this is the flight attendant is there. It can be a man or a woman now, okay? We don't call them stewardess anymore. It's una palabra moderna. It's a modern word. They don't use stewardess or steward anymore. They use instead a flight attendant, and this could be for a man or a woman, okay? A boarding card or boarding pass. You see, another compound. Boarding now, pass or card, because you have two words, you can use any of these two. We can say a boarding card or a boarding pass. You know what this is? A piece of paper with information about the flight, where you go, the number of your seat, etc. And this is something that you have to take with you before you enter the plane. You have to give it to the flight attendant. Okay, that is the boarding card or boarding pass. Yeah, this is, Kimberly thought about this, passport control, yes. We have another, departure lounge. This is very common, you have to know, because this has to do with airports. This is a typical word belonging to this vocabulary. Departure lounge. This is a place, where all the passengers go, before you see, entering the plane. So they arrive here at the departure lounge, where you find seats. You can sit there and wait for the call. When the plane, for example, is ready to be boarded, you are here. You're waiting for this in the departure lounge. It's like a room with lots of seats, and you see the passengers sitting there waiting, right? This is the departure lounge. Remember that we also have teachers' lounge, where this is a room where teachers get together when they have a break. Here we have departure lounge. The arrival hall is when you arrive, when you arrive at the airport, you enter, there's a main entrance, you enter, and then you have the arrival hall. And the baggage claim, this is very important, because here is the place where you have to look for your suitcases, right? This is the baggage claim. Plane ticket, another, you see, compound noun, ticket and plane. So this is the ticket that you have to travel. Yeah, another compound, seat and window. This is the seat that you have when you are on the plane, where you can see, or look, the landscapes. That's the window seat. We have also, this is the other seat, this is the aisle seat. So this is the one that goes to this, side. The window seat is to your right, and this one is to your left, right? Is where the aisle is. Aisle seat, el asiento del pasillo. Hand baggage or hand luggage. This is the one that you take with you in your hands. That this is the only luggage that is allowed to take with you, you know, on the plane. In-flight entertainment, so two nouns, entertainment and flight. In-flight entertainment is when people are, for example, seeing a movie, right? When you are flying, that's flight entertainment. A seat belt, well, it's a belt and a seat, two nouns, seat and belt. This is the belt that you have to, you know, fasten. You fasten here, right? This is that you're asked to do it when, especially when the plane, you know, I mean, takes off, right? And also when the plane lands. Oxygen mask, we have two nouns, mask and oxygen. This is a mask that you put it here, you know, and that provides oxygen in case of having an accident or in case of an emergency. Running way light, well, this is a light, especially you see it at night. Well, when it's winter, it's always on, right? This is a runway light. It's the light that you find it on the runway. This is la pista, esta es la pista, runway. Fíjate que tú no has estado nunca viajando en avión. Runway, la pista, donde this is the place where the plane starts taxiing, empieza el avión de a poquito a acercarse. Empieza como, that's the word is taxi, como un taxi, to taxi. They start taxiing, yeah, little by little, and along the runway. And sometimes you see there are lights that are indicating the pilot that this is the right way, you know, where he's going before taking off. Well, and that's it. You see, so how many? ¿Cuántas se me ocurrieron anoche? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Many. So you have many. You see? Yeah. Tiare, you see them, these compound nouns?
Yes, Miss.
Yeah, you see that these are typical ones. Son conocidas. Kimberly, do you know that these are well known? Son conocidas. They are well known by people.
Yes.
Maybe some of them could be that you don't know, but most of them are well known.
I have also seen overhead bin. Would that work as well?
Yeah, or overhead compartment too.
Yeah, I have also heard that.
Yeah, overhead compartment also, depending on the flight or maybe or the plane, depending on the plane. Yeah, sometimes it's overhead blocker or overhead compartment. That's another word that they use. Okay. All right. So let's go to the other part. It says real life dealing with trouble. So as you see, you have lots of words that are important when you travel. Yeah, we're going to listen to conversations between a tour guide and tourists. And we're going to write the number of the conversation from 1 to 2 next to the problem they talk about. You will only use 2 options, okay? Yeah, okay. So we have, remember what is the instruction? We're going to listen to, you know, 2 conversations between a tour guide and tourists. And then what do we have to do? We have to write the number of the conversation, or conversation 1 or conversation 2. That's what we have to identify. Next to the problem, right? For example, here we have, the first says A, the person has missed his or her flight home. Yeah. And then it says the luggage hasn't arrived. And then the flight has been delayed. The person has lost his or her plane tickets. Someone is ill. Okay, so we are going to write the number of the conversation next to the problem they talk about. We will only use 2 options, 1 or 2. Yeah, not all of them are mentioned, not all. So be attentive because not all. Let's see. I'm going to look for it. Wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. I'll say that live for. Okay. It's like unit 5. Unit 5, baby. It's why unit 5, so we have only 1 unit pending. 6. All right, so unit 5, this is unit 5, and this is C. Is C, D. D. This is the one. Yeah. All right, so here we are, right? It says dealing with problems. This is what we are going to listen. Yeah, so pay attention to this. I'm going to put the audio. Play.
1. I wonder if you could help us. Our luggage hasn't arrived. Right. Are you with China Times Tours? Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Wong. And which flight were you on, Mrs. Wong? The China Air flight from Beijing. I think it's CA2498. We've been talking to some of the other passengers, and their luggage has come through. No problem. Ah, yes. It seems some bags have gone to another airport. Flight CA2498? Yes, that's right. Do you know where our bags have gone to? Yes. I'm afraid the luggage has gone to Shanghai. Shanghai? Well, how did that happen? I'm not sure, but all the missing bags are coming on the next flight. But when's the next flight? It's tomorrow morning. Don't worry, we'll arrange everything. Which hotel are you staying at? Your bags will go there directly, but all our summer clothes are in the suitcases. 2. Hello, Mr. Biswas. Is anything wrong? Can I help you?
Well, it's about my wife, actually. She hasn't been feeling well for a couple of days.
I'm sorry to hear that. Is it something she's eaten, do you think? Or just motion sickness?
I don't know. She's had a temperature all night, but she feels cold.
Have you both been taking anti-malarial tablets?
Oh, yes, but the hotel hasn't provided mosquito nets, and they haven't been spraying the bedroom at night either.
Okay. How long has she been feeling like this?
A couple of days? Yes, since the boat trip on Tuesday. Is there anything you can do?
Well, it's probably nothing to worry about, but I'll ask the hotel to call a doctor just in case.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Did you understand or not, babies?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So remember what we have to see. Conversation 1, conversation 2. So what is the conversation 1 about? Do you remember?
It was about the luggage that hasn't arrived.
Yeah.
So it was the
Yeah. So, and it's, you know, this is the typical problems that passengers have when the luggage has not arrived with her flight. This is a very serious problem for people. Imagine that in the luggage, they have their clothes, the clothes that they have to wear, the underwear. Sometimes they put some medicines in. So I think it's a very important thing, your luggage. Okay, and you know, this is not so, I think it's very disgusting because you have to wait sometimes for more than 1 day, sometimes 2 days, 3 days to have your luggage with you. Or sometimes the luggage never arrives. Okay, so let's concentrate on conversation 1 first. Yeah, it says, number 1, the person has missed his or her flight home. Does it happen in conversation 1? Conversation 1?
no.
No.
No? None?
Yes.
Yes.
None, correct. In none. So this is not mentioned in conversation 1 nor in conversation 2. What about number 2 that says the luggage hasn't arrived? The luggage hasn't arrived. Conversation 1 or conversation 1. Let me see. I want to put it here. Yeah, this is correct. You see? They put you the ticket in red. Correct. The flight has been delayed. The flight has been delayed.
None.
None. I think it's none. Correct. You see, it's correct. The person has lost his or her plane tickets.
None.
None.
None. I think it's none. Correct. Very good, babies. And C, that says someone is ill. Conversation 1, conversation 2, or none.
2.
Conversation 2. Correct. What happens with the lady? Her husband is very worried. What happens with the lady? What is her problem? Do you remember? Does she feel ill because she has danced all day long while she was, on vacation? No. Do you
I
remember?
think a mosquito, correct?
Almost what?
A mosquito?
Mosquito?
I don't remember.
Yeah, you don't remember? Okay. Do you remember, Kimberly?
I think it was food poisoning, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay. So because she doesn't, he says that she doesn't feel well. And yesterday she was in a boat, I think on a boat trip, and she started feeling bad after that. And but the lady says that maybe this is not something serious. And what is she going to? What does the lady offers this man, the wife? I mean the husband of the woman that is sick. What does she offer him? Mm-hmm. Do you remember or not? Do you remember what she offers him?
No.
No. Are you sure that's not so terrible, babies? Wait a minute. Se me está corriendo una hojita. Está quedando lejos. Something terrible is happening here. Okay. Yeah. So we are saying then that you see the woman here says that she's going to call a doctor. Do you remember? Just in case, she says, just in case. And so the man is very, grateful. He says, that's great, thank you. And well, I think that Tiare, you said that the hotel hasn't provided mosquito nets. Mm-hmm. What is
A tablet?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. He says that she has had, temperature all night, but she feels cold, right? And then the woman says that if they have been taking anti-malarial tablets, and the guy says yes. But the man says that the hotel hasn't provided mosquito nets, and they haven't been spraying the bedroom at night either. The woman says that how long has she feeling like this? And he says that about a couple of days, since the boat trip on Tuesday, So from that day on, that the woman hasn't feel very well. And then she says that if there is anything that she can do, and says, well, nothing to worry about, but I asked the hotel to call a doctor, she says, just in case. Well, so that's it, and that is the thing, right? So maybe in these places, depending on where they were traveling, sometimes it's important to take, some special medicine to avoid some diseases that are sometimes, for example, not common, but tourists can get a disease in some countries. That's why it's important, for example, to take some anti-malarial, tablets. It's very important. When you travel, for example, to Brazil, you have also, I think, you need to have a vaccine. Hay que ponerse una vacuna. You have to have a vaccine when you travel, for example, to
Sí.
yeah, to avoid, I don't remember what. ¿Qué es lo que era lo que tienen ellos ahí en Brasil?
Era un mosquito que se llamaba pica.
Yeah, that mosquito. So to avoid, to have this kind of disease, all the people, had to, have a vaccine. So this is important. Otherwise, you were not allowed to travel, right? It's important. When you go to countries like, for example, maybe in Africa, in those places where there is no security in terms of cleanliness, for example, when the country is not so clean, for example, maybe you are recommended, to have maybe an injection or something like that, or to take with you some medicines to prevent, just for prevention, okay? Well, so this is the listening that we just have here, right? So we have between a female tourist and a tour guide. Well, and the other one was okay because you didn't have problems. It was problems, you know, with the, let's say, the luggage. The luggage hasn't arrived, so no problem. Tiare, do you have any question about the vocabulary in these conversations?
No, miss?
No? Did you understand it?
No.
No?
Yes.
Okay, so here we are. As you could see, this is another example when people have problems, you see, is with the famous luggage. Most of the time you have problems with the luggage, right? The luggage in the first listening has gone to Shanghai. Shanghai, you see? So maybe it sometimes happens that the luggage travels to other cities instead of the city where you are going. Okay, so the next part, what is the next part here? Wait a minute. No se mueve. Se ha pegado. 5. Yeah, so 5C. This is C, and here it is. Yeah, here we are. So this is the problems, right, that we're working with. Yeah, the next exercise, this one, you know, 13, I cannot see. Wait a minute, I would have zoom here.
It's 19.
See, the thing is, yes, thank you. They cannot see well here. Qué pesado. Ya, no seas pesadito, oye, no te portes mal, ya. Oye, el Zoom que está pesadito, tampoco quiero mucho. Ahí sí. All right. Aquí hay que subirlo con esto. Bájalo. Sube. Ahí sí. Okay, here it is. It says, mark each expression for dealing with problems. Guide, or tourist, depending on who said it. Yeah, okay, so we have to say only who said these things, the guide or the tourist. By the way, when we talk about the guide, you remember the guide, right? So when you have a guide, you know what a guide is. What is a guide, Kimberly? A guide. What's a tour guide? We call tour guide or guide in an informal way, guide. The full form
Somebody
is
that shows you around.
yeah, okay, and also someone that helps you with the, for example, with the car rentals, with the flight delays sometimes, you see, with the hotel rooms, with the train schedules, right? Or different things, right? This is the tour guide. And then we have the tourist. Okay, it says, dealing with problems. I wonder if you could help us. Who usually, says this? The tourist guide or the tourist? The guide or the tourist? The guide, we're going to put a G for the guide. Here then,
The guide.
and I wonder if you could help us. The guide. No.
The tourist.
The tourist. Okay, so in this case, is the tourist, right? I wonder if you could help us. Is the tourist that usually, says this. It's the same as if I go to the airport, you see, as a tourist, and I need some help, and I ask the person, for example, the desk officer, I wonder if you could help us. Is anything wrong?
The guide.
The guide. Okay, the guide. Can I help you?
The guide.
The guide, also the guide. So we have the first one, this is typical from the tourist. The second, is anything wrong? The guide. The third, can I help? The guide. Yeah. Now, our luggage hasn't arrived. Who says this?
The guide, the tourist.
The tourist, yeah, the tourist. Most of the time, the tourist. Which flight were you on? Which flight were the guide? Okay, which flight were you on? How did that happen?
The guide.
Yeah, I could be the guy and also maybe the tourist. You can say, but how did that happen? Maybe you as a tourist, you're worried about this. And the guy also,
Oh,
do you know where our bags have gone to?
the tourist.
The tourist, the tourist. When is the next flight? When is the next flight?
The tourist.
The tourist, you ask, hey, sir, when is the next flight? Or when is the next, yeah, when is the next flight? The tourist, most of the time, he's asked about this. It's about my wife.
The tourist.
The tourist, right. The hotel hasn't provided mosquito nets.
The tourist.
The tourist, right? How long has she been feeling like this?
The guide.
The guide, yes. Is there anything you can do?
The guide.
I think it's the tourist. Is anything you
Okay.
can do? You can do. This is the tourist, I think. I'm afraid the luggage has gone to Shanghai.
The guide.
The guide, what a pity. Don't worry, we will arrange everything.
The guide.
The guide. I asked the hotel to call a doctor.
The guide.
The guide, okay. Yeah, the guide. All right, good. So here we are okay up to there. Work as a class, are the problems solved and how? Yeah, then you have to think about this. Okay, babies. ¿Son 5 para la 1 o 10 para la 1? Tengo clase después 10 para la 1 con un chico, 10 para la 1. Ya, voy a llegar hasta aquí. Se supone que hasta las 12:45, pero no importa. Porque I don't have any problem. Babies, I'm going to stop here. Hasta ahí. Tomorrow we are going to work with these things. Y aquí no hay nada de gramática, solamente only these kind of things that are functions, but we're going to check them tomorrow anyway. Yeah. So here we go.
Oh yeah, tomorrow we have classes at 8. Okay.
At 8 o'clock, yeah. Very early in the morning. But our brains are going to be good anyway. So this is good. This is good. It's good when, it's good for people, it's good. So although I know that some people don't like getting up early, but it's good. Especially for our brain. Para el cerebro está bien. It's good. I have to leave, yes. Okay. Deja de compartir, yes.